The Song of Henry. In early November 1992, a young buyer for Book City, an independent chain of 7 stores in the Toronto area, decided to take a chance on an unlikely title. She ordered 350 copies of The Song of Henry, a modern English translation of the Heinrich-Lied, Germany's forgotten national epic, and sent 50 copies each to the 7 Book City stores, with instructions to the local managers to use The Song of Henry to enliven their table displays, especially in the holiday underperforming sections of classic literature, history, and biography. In several stores, The Song of Henry took at least some of the ample space previously devoted to The End of History and the Last Man by Francis Fukuyama. Most of the employees of Book City were happy to reduce the display space of Fukuyama's book. The End of History possessed a unique ability to annoy the non-academic reader of history, and there had been many incidents where a staff member had been obligated to explain to a customer, a good customer, a serious reader, that the end of history did not mean that time would stop, that events would no longer occur, but rather referred to the end of history with a capital H. You know, the Hegelian sense. It means the endpoint of man's ideological evolution, all of which had something to do with the recent fall of the Berlin Wall, the unification of Europe, and the coming worldwide triumph of liberal democracy. The customer had often walked away disgusted, feeling like the victim of some smart kid's snotty joke. What made The Song of Henry a desirable replacement, so apparently marketable, so destined for the table displays, was its cover. It showed Henry IV, the heroic emperor standing amid the onrushing torrent of the Rhine River, with nubile Rhine maidens clinging to his muscular thighs, the massive sword in his right hand dangling between his legs, tempting the adventurous fingers of the Rhine maidens, his left hand holding out toward the viewer a jewel-encrusted orb and cross. The scene was rendered in the delicate lines and faded pastels of an exceptionally kitschy illustration of Lohengrin, so that it might seem, at first glance, to be a genuine historical artifact, from the 19th century perhaps, if not from the Middle Ages. At least it might look that way for viewers who had failed to recognize that the cover totally ripped off its composition, if not its syrupy style, from the poster of the legendary blaxploitation film Dolomite, an act of larceny or postmodern homage that one of the clerks at the Danforth store, a dropout film student, had spotted and explained to anyone who would listen in semiotic detail. The back cover confidently stated that The Song of Henry thrusts onto the modern stage the vigorous, vibrant, and bawdy reign of Henry IV, the Holy Roman Emperor, who beat back the pernicious influence of the Catholic Church and forged the kingdom that became modern Germany. No evidence was offered for the claim of Henry's victory or for the extraordinary assertions that he had defeated the Catholic Church and unified Germany in the 11th century. The cover also gave unusual prominence to the name of the English-language translator, one Roger McAllister. There was no mention of an original author, not even the word anonymous. McAllister had simply translated from the German, which, as the dropout film student pointed out, gave the impression that the Heinrich-Lied had been spawned by the language itself. Roger McAllister, for his part, certainly didn't want people to think that he was the author of The Song of Henry. Far from it. On his book tour, he would usually throw a fit of pedantic outrage if an interviewer accidentally used the A word in reference to his role in bringing the Song of Henry to public attention. "No, no, please, no," he would insist, crossing his arms and slapping his shoulders. "I am not an author. I am only a translator, and a second-hand one at that." Roger McAllister's card listed his occupation as appraiser of rare books and antiquities, and by the early 1990s, his persona, as an overeducated and somewhat distracted dandy, had become rather well known among the right people of Victoria, British Columbia. He went out each day dressed in a Savile Row suit, a yellow paisley bow tie, round horn-rimmed glasses, and brightly colored and always mismatched socks, even when his agenda included the exploration of back rooms, basements, attics, and barns. He regarded the layer of dust on his otherwise perfectly pressed sleeves as a mark of intrepid authenticity. During the first television interview of his book tour, an early morning appearance at the Global TV affiliate in Chilliwack, McAllister described how it had been his great privilege first to discover and then to share with the English-speaking world a 19th-century version in modern German of the Song of Henry. According to very reliable evidence, this 19th-century version, Das Heinrichlied, was itself a translation of an 11th-century original, composed in the incomparably poetic strophes of Middle High German. Both Deutschen versions were now, sadly, lost. The medieval one, buried somewhere in Silesia, and the 19th-century one destroyed by McAllister himself, in accordance with ironclad obligations of a contractual and moral nature. McAllister seemed lost in a reverie on the bitterness of duty and the ravages of time. The Chilliwack morning anchor called him back to the present. "So tell us, Roger, why should a 20th-century Canadian be interested in the adventures of a German king from more than 900 years ago?" For a moment, McAllister seemed vexed by the question. Then he rose to the occasion. "The modern Canadian should give a damn," he said, "because the Song of Henry is the eternal tale of a boy who achieves his destiny, a boy who is crowned king at age 5, betrothed to his cousin at age 6, his life kidnapped by abbots, micromanaged by bishops, until at last he breaks free and goes to battle against the church that sought to keep him in a golden cage." "So your book, The Song of Henry," said the anchor, "it's a story of self-discovery." "Why, yes," said McAllister, "that's a brilliant description. It's a story of finding yourself as a real man in a feminized, clericized, shall we say, celibacized world. A kind of self-help book." "Exactly," said McAllister, already thinking of a new edition with a new marketing strategy. "A self-help book for the modern Canadian boy, and for the man he must become."